Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here talking to you about this incredible full moon in Pisces coming up on the 2nd of September. I apologize in advance for any noises in the background. There is a house getting built just outside and we have a few people on the property, so I apologize if there's any sounds in the air, but here we are. Okay, so preparing you for this transit. The main thing that comes to mind as I look at this chart is that there is just no more. This is a completion of the sequence. There is a chance that certain ideas and relationships have come to a certainty. There is a chance that certain things, dreams, visions, patterns have come to an end, or there is a security or a new culture already forming upon the carcass of a dying or a completing situation. So what I'm seeing for you guys is it is very important to have your nose to the wind, to kind of like snuff out those things that are happening in your life and to be perhaps one of the first people to be able to predict a certain result also, and to be in the know of certain things. So this is when we have a new system in place. There is no chance of previous rules applying in some people's lives, and there could be a negative also as well as a positive result coming through all of this. So we have to see it now. If we have a new social structure, if we have a new economic structure in place, if we are participating in a certain circle or in a certain situation, and we have certain people in mind, or we have certain abilities and disadvantages, we have to kind of know it. But the time is kind of washed out. So it feels to me that with the elders of society, with the older, more mature people in the group, it would be really nice to kind of sense and feel in all that you are, with your nose to the wind, smelling and sensing, how it all feels to you. What is the next proposition from life? What is the next proposal? What is the next security? What is the next advantageous or opportune point of focus? As it feels to me that individuals and communities alike might need to shuffle very quickly towards the next set of rules, or towards the next way in which we as a people and as individuals will now find outcomes. So this is like climbing to higher ground, assuming a higher quantum, accepting a higher voltage, knowing about life now, understanding the dream perhaps inside out, knowing where your rights are. How you do now is kind of like up to you as to how agile, how smart, how quick, and how savvy you are. As we have a changing of tides, perhaps as a change in a political system or organization, maybe this is something more to do with you specifically. Maybe there is a maturing spectrum of you that is coming out now. Perhaps there are new laws that you have yourself as a soul created or explored. There might be no more of that which there was. Okay, so this could be on different scales. If I'm talking about society, this could be a completely different governmental system taking place. There could be a one world order in control. There could be a completely different way in which the government lays out its laws. There could have been paperwork signed around this time, or there could be something for us that is new, and it could be positive and also negative as well to understand. So there could be a different system of conduct coming up to the surface that has been formed within the governmental body. But that could also take place on a very sensitive personal level. So, for example, it's not up to you. It's like sometimes the body has decided. That is very difficult to understand. There are sometimes feelings and things that we get as individuals, and we think we thought it up or we made it happen, but sometimes the whole body has been preparing to make something a big yes or a no for you. So, for example, you had a previous cycle in a marriage where you didn't feel any love. There's going to be a change. So, you could be in the last days of your marital life. Or there could be something else cooking up. So, for example, your body has decided it is completely against animal products and it will no longer participate in the cycle of abuse that many of us are part of in terms of the animals on this planet or even the plants, and something inside you says no. And there could be a locking down, a closing down, and it's not something that you can probably fully understand or believe. Maybe this is not something that fully manifests for you on a level. Maybe it is something that just kind of like takes its place. So these realities and understandings of things being over and done, and also new things beginning, this shifting of age or this physiological shift, also this physiological shift can happen as well, or this karmic shift that can take place during this time may not be entirely up to the brain to decide. And also, we forget that the body works in a very unique way. We think it up. We get taught that it's all in here, but sometimes it is a combination of who you are, which is all of it, all the different muscle tissues, all the different components of what makes you real that kind of make it all come together. And yes, sometimes it is all inside the heart, or it's all inside the veins and the arteries, and how it all fluctuates and how it all changes. So sometimes people can make big decisions based on their anatomy and not even know that that is their anatomy speaking. And quite often people say, I don't know how or why, I don't know what it is about me, but I just got to do this now. Or I don't know what it is about me, but I just have to have this now. And sometimes it's where people can make a big choice. For example, walking away or towards a family, maybe wishing to have a child, wishing to now no longer be part of a certain group or a situation, no longer caring about certain things, being unable to participate and neurologically incapable of participating in a certain thing. There are sometimes people that just don't want anything that they've had anymore. There are wide views that can be broken down and also put together. So the thing is, it is not conscious, and sometimes it is not even us that makes a decision. It is the biology of self, it is the biology of the world that makes this decision, which is very exciting to me. So it is the all speaking through us. It is quite a unique, unquestionable moon to be here on this planet as well. This is a very, very wise and a very, very quickly adjusting time. I mean, sometimes nature can play a trick on us during this time. Sometimes we're shown something very deep. Sometimes we're scarred, or what it seems like uh, pushed downwards by life in order to realize something very quick. Or sometimes we're raised beyond our own belief. So there could be a huge darkness and a huge light interplaying before the moon or after. This is because the biology of the all, so if you look at everything as being one being, or this one almost like neurological membrane, if we think about the structure of the greater whole, um, it is something that happens sometimes. It's just so quick to shift, it seems, but we've been building up to this for ages. And on occasion during this time, you can have a big rise or fall. So, for example, being betrayed really badly by your best friend at the same time as getting a huge escape and a huge window into a completely different universe. It could be many things come, like money can come during this time if you need it, life will give it to you. And sometimes you can be at a loss. A loss could be, for example, life gives you less time or less energy with certain people. You're not able to produce a certain energy. So sometimes people cannot even produce a certain hormone or chemical, and things kind of change really fast. So we had a great global shift, and it feels to me that for a few of us, these changes come really fast. And it's not even about us being or not being prepared. It's more just about the all making a turn. So if we look at life, at the greater universe, it's like almost like a membrane or a tissue, this giant, almost like a soft being, it's good to see that it's not really about you personally. It's not about just who you are. It's more about all that we were always as people, as a greater cosmic essence of human or of the living, and where we are now going to go. And these situations and stories sometimes are not personal. For example, when I have these stories happen, I understand this is not just life speaking to me. This is not just a human speaking to me. This is like all things speaking to me or within me. So, on occasion, sometimes there is an extreme that this can bring about. For example, understanding that you're in a dangerous place and that becoming very obvious to you now, realizing the type of people that you're interacting with, revealing to yourself layers of your psyche, suddenly recognizing that you are in a father son bond with somebody, or understanding now that you are taking a lot of slack from something that you don't need to take slack from, understanding that you're disempowered, realizing huge, phenomenal, ginormous global incentives that are at play, recognizing that you are not just one of a kind person, that you are part of a large family of souls, of lives that is trying to turn this big life around, that is trying to make greater, more beautiful, more sincere, more global decisions. You know, sometimes like it's about people getting it together almost at the same time. And I've met a few people here in Peru actually that are going through the same question marks, like for example self-identity being a big question mark at the moment collectively, without even us knowing that we're all going through it. Health and fitness, the joy of life, understanding children, also understanding recreational experiences, understanding love and being a lover. What is love about? Why do we participate in certain journeys, and how come we allow darkness to seep through? Everything like that sometimes can be visited by only one individual for the group or for the collective, and they're the only one going through a very enormous emotional and global story. Or sometimes it is many of us digesting and resurfacing that story as if for the first time, but somehow doing it all together as one. So this is a very, very good, enticing time to realize it, that you are not just going through shadow, you're not just experiencing advantage or disadvantage for your own purpose or your own tribe. This is more like a liquid state of multiple souls and multiple essences, multiple timelines, also beings as well as animals, as well as children, as well as, you know, the birds and the insects and the different living things out there that have come to a certain fruition and now need to conclude a big vantage point or a big depth. They need to now recognize what is going on with it all. So we're all kind of like speaking maybe to ourselves or one another, and it seems to be maybe a close family story. We're just a one-on-one situation, but this is not about that. There is nothing home about this now. This is more about the greater cycles of reproduction also. This is more about the larger cycles of creation, creativity. This is more about what you mean to yourself and to others, and what you are really standing for in this dimension. And I trust this is one of the greatest times to call it quits or to start a greater journey. And there is something in mind also in terms of immaturity, promiscuity, taking of substances, any disadvantage that certain behavior brings has to be seen. And we also have to understand where we are broken and which part of us allows certain darknesses, certain distances, or certain dysfunctions to seep through into our daily life. Why do we let certain chemicals be in our daily bread? Why do we let certain people come to us and journey with us when we understand very well within our heart of hearts that these are dangerous or distancing people? Why do we let it be okay when we see rape or murder? How come we allow things like that to be on TV? Why do we as a being, as a joint collective of people sometimes seek entertainment and shadow? And what for do we enforce certain values that we ourselves don't want to any longer live? So this is not just about how we feed ourselves and each other. This is not just about trust of what you are ingesting in this world, what you are letting penetrate through your field. What is the quality of food and shelter and dream and understanding, ideology, maybe even religion or spirituality, media, like that you allow, that you let yourself breathe. What is it that you're breathing? What is it that you're letting be part of yourself? And also, what are you leaving behind for your children? And whether or not you are with children or you're not, the continuation of this timeline is all immersive. There is no out in a sense. So we're all creating and combining and collaborating on the greater being that Earth could be. And we as a species, also the Earthlings, this is the way, like what is the way? And also for um, some people that are not involved seemingly in any kind of journey, any kind of physicality, they're not asking the questions of the living world anymore. They just don't care about the advantage or disadvantage of everyday life. They don't want to know about what's on TV, and they don't really feel kind towards strangers. These people that have been taught or coaxed into completely separatist vantage points or separatist ideals, uh, they are also global here. So if you are here just relaxing with a cup of tea, or you just want to see you and your friend and your dog in the picture and nobody else, if you're creating a very, very maybe dystopic life in terms of the global picture, and you are absolutely uninterested in anybody else's situation, there is also a globality to this as well. So there is no removal from the greater whole. Like all worlds merge here, also with this Neptune conjunct Moon in the last sign of Pisces, or the first sign, depends on how you see it. It's the death of it all. It is the unity of all things. It is the final frontier. It's like everything gets merged into one eternal Om, before or after. So there is a nothingness to it, there's a nullness to it. And with this type of energy, with this type of sensitivity, it is very important to see that there is nobody that's hidden now. There is nothing that is beneath layers or behind closed doors. Most of it is important. Everything is one. We're all kind of within the greater whole here. And if you are very unwise and thinking that you're separate during this time, that nobody sees you, nobody knows you, and somehow you are believing that you're somehow a hermit or a leftover person, or you don't understand what anybody needs from you, or you fear or feel or believe that you are one of a kind and you are never together, you're always whole within yourself and nobody knows you and nothing needs you. This is not so, but what you can do if you are isolated or isolating yourself by will or by design, somehow during this time, you have to see yourself. If you can, pray for us, pray for the world. It would be so nice here to hold space for the greater whole. There is no separation between east and west, north and south. This is not really about claiming any kind of space or territory. There are nothings that can be seen or fully understood in singularity. So anything and everything is going to start from this point on, work as a combined being. It's not just a cell that you're looking at. You're looking at the beginnings of greater trust, so more cells. You are looking at a full spectrum being. So from just one cell comes a whole being. I mean, it's like the reproductive cycle. It just starts with the one cell, and then it breaks down into many, and it becomes beautiful. It becomes a whole being. So we are not capable of staying away too long. Also, I believe we have to now understand who we are and what we fall in love and what we see God. Also, we have to see what makes us feel beautiful. So this is like the larger quantums here. I mean, what makes you feel like, who is that guy or who is that person, whoever it is, if you are in love, okay, if you feel greater consciousness, if you feel greater expansion through art or music or any kind of thing, if you're starting to see yourself fully shine, and especially if you have tears coming up, or laughter or energy or any kind of emotion through a certain art or a certain merging or certain sensitivity, if you feel emotional about things and they merge you with God, like When I play violin, I feel that I have wings. Like these things, they have to be understood. If you have accidentally also fallen in love with another person, and each time you see them, like there is this amazing euphoria that just spreads over your body. If you've met somebody a long time ago and all the other exes have become like kind of like like porridge, and this is the only raisin. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's the only person or the only presence that you have, in a sense, immortalized somehow in your soul's journey as that perfect, beautiful person that maybe no matter what come what may resurfaces as this one godly, beautiful, essential human. That is also something that you might wish to consider now. Yeah, with this incredible moon making a trine with Venus, and also the stellium in Capricorn, far away, the furthest point away, opposing Venus. We have got to do the thing that we love. And we've got to understand these emotional states that are beyond it all. So, for example, there is a certain feeling, it's like come what may, this is the person, or like come what may, that is the thing that I trust, or come what may, these incredible feelings of inspiration and significance, and also these like pulling feelings that we don't maybe even want to see in ourselves, like these extremes, anything that is touching to tears, anything where you don't actually have any control, anything where you don't have any control. And there's something that is over also within that. Sometimes it is kind of the most extreme when it's at the end. It's like, for example, before meeting your next person, you may experience a huge oozing intensity for your ex-partner during this particular window. Or, for example, right before starting your career, you might have this intensity for freedom and just this oozing desire to just look at the sunset or the sunrise. So this one of the lasts. So this could be one of the last times, one of the last times that I ever held this person's hand. Also likely, yeah, one of the last times when I fully understood how vulnerable I was as a child. One of the last times. It's almost like something is off, like there is a barrier between you and yourself that is probably very, very clear now, or that has fallen. And now you can, to your full capacity, believe, or like to your full quantum receive, or you can just absolutely now see now see and it's like one of those times, if you watch a movie, if you're reading books, like any kind of media, really good artistic creative media, sometimes it's this moment of power. It's almost like a silence, and God speaks, and you have God within you fully rise and say, in all honesty, at the end of the day, I have become this, but I wanted to say that I also have been that. So this is where secrets fall. We have a moon in a 12th house to Chiron. Chiron we have in Aries, and we have 12th house moon to Aries. So that's where the secret Chiron, the key, yeah, is revealed. And we didn't even know it. We didn't even want to see it. And it's also a year of popping bubbles and understanding secrets and realizing what's underneath it all, and trying to do a little bit more brilliantly next time, as red is the first in the Chinese sequence for us. And we're kind of like sometimes, in a sense, afraid of the world because we have become so covered. There are certain feelings that we have, and Virgo is a great healer for us during this time. And also Chiron is in the house after the moon. Maybe we have to consider why diseases happen, why we hold shame, why we hold lust or anger. And on a level, this sometimes is because we've got to trust these feelings we have inside us. And there's something so bountiful and opening during this time. It's like a window, a huge giant window, just opening and helping the fresh air rush into a previously maybe stuffy room or previously uncomfortable space. This is where there's this like amazing opening and the secret is out. And it feels to me that this is one of the most enticing times to really fulfill the greatest purpose of yourself, or like the greatest sensitivity of who you are, through just recognizing now what you've been feeling for maybe such a long time. Okay, I've been carrying this feeling for thousands of years, or I've never been able to tell anybody. I had this crush, or I had this enormous desire, or I had this human need, and I was just always waiting for, like, say, somebody to notice, somebody to ask me those questions. I was just always feeling like nobody could see me, like nobody could really fully touch it, nobody could fully smell it, nobody could detect it, and I didn't know how to say it, and I didn't really want to, and now it's out, there's this big design that comes next. And sometimes it starts like this, you know, just like a job, a relationship, or a security thing, a sequence. Now you get given money, now you get given this. Like the response is really dry. So that's something that I believe is very unusual sometimes to see. It's like the bursting of a ginormous bubble, or resolving of a big mess, or recognizing the big mess, understanding like, wow, this could be on a huge, or on like a minor level. Depends on how free you are to actually admit, and just to become, and just to say thank you, like, thank you life, thank you my friend, thank you experiences, thank you circumstances, thank you my clients, thank you my job, thank you the world, thank you earth, for relieving a certain tension, relieving a certain pact, understanding me. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for giving me room and space to understand, recognize myself and who I am now. Thank you for providing me the people, the sustenance, the medicines, anything like that, to fully realize, understanding my job, or my greatest purpose, or like my biggest wound. And I want to see why I have come to this planet. I want to see, if you have the heart and the mind, and the ambition, or the design, or the soul, like, level to like expand, just to say, please take me into the greater mechanics of it all. Please, love, world, unity, like, everything, please help me see. And sometimes the key is small. And that's when something can solve it for you. So this is where you have a Skype session with that person that you've been in love with for a long time, just never wanted to admit it. This is where you finally fully write your book. Like, all the thoughts have been there, you just write it all down now. This is where you finally feel love and good about, like, conception of a child. This is where perhaps something happens, like a door is open and the key fits a giant door. So to me, it looks like a small answer to this big, expanding, opening feeling that can be super real and right for you. So, for example, making a pact and understanding and being at peace, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm just a natural global mom. In my case, I'm just naturally like a global mom. And then suddenly you're given maybe a tiny job at a cafe or restaurant, or you're given something to manage, which is going to expand way past that initial tiny, maybe very modern or very small key. So the beginnings and the answers, and what life brings next after these expansions, after these big pluming understandings and the voices. Some people can also go into psychosis with these types of moons. Like, the dreams are incredible, the insights are like parallel to this dimension, totally different flavors and sounds and feelings. Absolutely, a different understanding of the senses is also very enabling during this time with this earth trine. A completion is needed. Some things like, wow, I get it, I get my karma, wow, 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 wow. And then what happens to you is that you have to understand that on a level, God, the messenger of light, the picture changer might be incredibly small, tiny, or it's just a small step away. You are a tiny step away from the resolve. And it could be something that you maybe never needed and you never thought, and it could be laughable sometimes. And there could be some regret and embarrassment. It's like, okay, wow, the joke's on me. I, sometimes in Virgo, it's very unique, especially during this red time. It's like we have this huge bubble, it expands enough to burst itself, open. And then underneath it's like, okay, well, okay, practical keys, practical, tiny little things, small, seemingly people in the group, unforeseen results, like for example, taking B12 vitamin changes your organs, like your whole cellular structure changes because you see the sun more, like you open your doors or you air out your space. Like tiny, insignificant answers, but they seem to get you everything, like a tiny message or email to your ex, a small, tiny hello, a tiny opportunity, small, tiny, like a little mustard seed of a concept brings about a ginormous change. And it's maybe a completely new set of illusions, maybe it's a new set of skills, maybe there is a new role, maybe there is a different type of way in which you function, maybe it's a huge healing crisis or an answer to your prayers. But it can be also that sometimes a tiny word or a tiny action can bring about a destruction if you no longer want to see yourself destroy yourself. If you no longer want to see darkness or anger in your world or in your work, your worldview, anything like that, the main thing basically is just now to start emitting the right frequencies. Just enjoy it. This is the time of perception and openings like, okay, for example, you now know who you love. Like you now love who you love. It's not necessarily like flicking through people on Instagram. And this, you just know. Um, Now you know who you are. Now you know where you fit. Now you know who you love. Now you know what you love. Now you know who you trust. Now you know what it is that really makes you just, it's almost like orgasm in the heart. You now know. Like it's open. This is one of the best times to just like fill yourself with this awesome understanding of how you feel. And it is no miracle. There is something that you can do for everybody here. If you are now at a point of tears, cherish that. If you are now at a point of extreme global just awakening or some form of realization, if there's a freshness, if there's like a breath rising up through you, you could not believe it before, now it's true. Oh my gosh, if you have got this almost like an enormousness about you, if you feel it all, if you, oh my gosh, suddenly understanding what you missed or who you've been and what you've wanted to say and why it didn't work before, and suddenly your puzzle of life that you've been working on, you've been screwing around with for 5 or 6 years, it just starts to become a toy for a child. You're suddenly understanding, oh my gosh, I spoke too much, I said too much, I did so much and I did so little for me. Like, oh my gosh, if there is this big, beautiful realization, then you might not have hurt anymore. Maybe a lot of the pains and the hurt are gone. This is like an important time to open and breathe and just live this out and just, in all honesty, admit and just say it and just feel it and just be it and let it be what it is. Like, I'm gay, or like, I've been in love with this person all my life, or like, I know what I need, or I'm just so holy, I just love the world, or like, I just want to bring people together. I just want to feed them food. I just want to like make sushi all day. I just want to be there. I want to be there when my son grows up. I want to be there for my parents. Like I want to live my life. I want to breathe the air. I want to take pictures of trees. I want to learn more about nature. I want to see it. I want to hear it. I want to feel it. This is where the genius wakes up, okay? Like, I want to feel what it's like to be fully immersed in the world of plants. I want to understand what it's like to dance with Creator. I want to feel what it is like to truly say those words to that person. I would love to open, open, open. How big is the sky? And sometimes very little in a sense, So this is Zen. Like this is Zen. This is the best part of it all. I believe this is the tastiest. I think that this is the more able to provide time than ever if you are planting seeds and if you are wishing to finally fully take control of your world. If you ever wanted to fully put your heart into something or somebody, if you wanted to now like do the big work, if you're realizing what that might be, if you now are ready and open for that, you know, if you are now establishing yourself as a poet or a writer or an artist or anything, if you really like truly see it, if you truly see yourself and this moment in time holds a quantum of holiness for you, then that's it. And if it's not, there are going to be many, many different keys to get you there, to get you invited and excited. Some people get very, very small keys from life, and sometimes it's just holy and it has no words. And that's also very dark for people sometimes to see yourself be all of it, all that it is, and only have music to express yourself through. That's also like a very funny sense of smallness. So expect a large pluminess, maybe like a big vulnerability or high quantum psychic sensuality. And then also be in no remorse when the details are really small and the way that life tries to help you is a little bit barren, or there is like a very adequate but very small person helping you. There's a very tiny, very kind of shallow way out. It's not too bad. It will all um, sensitively and beautifully work itself together. It will all, in the end, become one beautiful sequence. So even though there might be a contrast between desire and responsibility, there might be a little bit of a nuisance in between all of this. There might be space and time between you and your significant other, or there could be an interesting crisis or a strange disbelief or negativity or disproportionality to this. I trust it is all going to one day ring like a beautiful set of singing bowls, and it will be exactly right. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. See ya.